They know that they are not going to be held accountable for when they violate our laws, and that's why you see this scene.
Thinking that they can assault our National Guardsmen, can assault our Border Patrol, can assault our troopers and get away with it.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott is expanding his efforts to prevent migrants from crossing into the Lone Star State.
And said Texas can enforce its law against illegal immigration.
To the southern border tonight, and we're learning more about those alarming images. A group of migrants storming a barbed wire fence in Texas.
200 migrants arrested. More than 200 migrants have been detained on misdemeanor rioting charges in relation to a border breach that occurred in El Paso in late March and reportedly injured Texas National Guard members, according to the local district attorney. In opposition to what she claims are false charges, the local public defender pledged to contest the allegations. On March 21, an occurrence transpired at a Rio Grande border crossing. According to El Paso District Attorney Bill Hicks, 9 migrants breached concertina wire and charged National Guard personnel in front of an estimated 1,000 asylum seekers. Hicks, in a video published by the New York Post, estimate that 425 migrants escaped the larger group and breached the wire, leaping over the guard members at the gate before reaching another fence. Hicks stated that Department of Public Safety troopers arrested around 221 of the more than 300 individuals they had intended to charge with rioting and attacking a public servant. Among those arrested, 7 are among the 9 individuals who have been indicted on felony charges of rioting and attacking a public servant. Hicks stated that the DPS is searching for the 2 individuals who were released by the Border Patrol agents and are also suspected of leading the charge. The remaining migrants are charged with misdemeanors of rioting. The number of inmates who remained at the county prison this week is unknown. A judge released an undetermined number of migrants on personal bonds on Easter Sunday, rejecting the request of prosecutors to defend bond review hearings until after the holiday. Hicks reported that he was informed that the migrants who were released possessed federal detainers and were presumably deported after their release. Violent activity and property destruction concern me more than immigration cases, Hicks stated at a press conference, alleging that migrants destroyed property and punched guard members in the face, with one allegedly attempting to steal a guard's member's firearm.
Get away with it. They know darn good and well that they can violate our laws and nothing's going to happen to them.
Instructed Texas DPS to arrest any illegal immigrant involved in criminal trespassing or the destruction of property.
An international port of entry. This is not designated as a port of entry to make a legal claim for asylum.
They know that they are not going to be held accountable for when they violate our laws, and that's why you see this scene.
I'm concerned if we fail to convey the message that they are unable to do that. El Paso Chief Public Defender Kelly Childress stated at a separate news conference that the allegations against the migrants were unfounded and that her office intended to contest them. Immediately unclear was the number of migrants that her office is responsible for defending. Over the course of the legal proceedings, the true events that transpired that morning, as well as those that transpired the night before, will be unveiled, Childress continued. The false charges levied against these migrants are an attempt to incite public outrage. They are prepared to defend their clients in criminal court, armed with the truth. Regarding the breach, state troopers were directed to apprehend each unauthorized immigrant implicated for criminal trespass and property destruction, according to Governor Greg Abbott. Abbott stated last week that more than 700 National Guards personnel were deployed to El Paso in response to the breach. Hicks stated that prosecutors will evaluate each case in order to determine whether to prosecute individuals, including those who have been released and deported. He stated that a case may generate an arrest warrant for an individual whom authorities are unable to locate in such circumstances. Childress stated that she was not informed by Immigration and Customs Enforcement whether or not any of her clients had been deported previously. We may pursue an alternative course of action with a motion for dismissal if we are unable to locate any suitable candidates, Childress stated. Migrants attack National Guard troops. A state government source informed the Post that 9 migrants have been charged by Texas authorities in connection with the attack on National Guard personnel and storming of the border in El Paso, Texas. According to the source, the charges against the migrants include inciting a disturbance, property damage exceeding $2,500, and attacking members of the Guard. Sergeant Eliot Torres of the Texas Department of Public Safety stated that Junior Evaristo Benitez, 21, a native of Honduras, was initially apprehended by Texas authorities. Presently, he is being accused of attacking a public servant, a third-degree felony. According to Border Report, another of the 9 charged individuals, Evaristo Benitez, allegedly stamped intentionally and maliciously on a soldier's knee. Migrants breaching the border after destroying concertina wire used to prevent unauthorized entry made their way to the border wall. They were halted by National Guard personnel who then gathered them into smaller factions.
I mean, you can't have a group of people legally entering the country that attack our cops and attack the National Guard.
Thinking that they can assault our National Guardsmen, can assault our Border Patrol, can assault our troopers and get away with it.
Border Patrol agents that will tell you the exact same story, that these individuals do not fear our laws, and that's why you see scenes like this.
To the southern border tonight, and we're learning more about those alarming images. A group of migrants storming a barbed wire fence in Texas.
As some grew impatient with the soldiers for attempting to return them to Mexico, a commotion ensued, which was captured on camera by a photographer from the Post. Ultimately, every single immigrant in the party was apprehended by the Border Patrol. The footage of the incident is still being reviewed by Texas authorities in order to identify which migrants in Border Patrol custody should be charged. According to the source, the state is anticipated to file felony or misdemeanor charges against dozens of others. The source claims that federal authorities will be required to transfer custody of the accused to the state. Authorities seized knives and shanks from some of the migrants who invaded the area after the incident, according to a source. A minimum of 1 migrant attempted to seize an arm belonging to a soldier amidst the fraught situation. A number of troops who rushed to the frontier on Thursday were transported to a nearby medical facility to be treated for their wounds. They were willing to engage in military attacks, a source told. They demonstrated a readiness to engage in physical aggression against law enforcement. Their disregard for the laws is utter.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott is expanding his efforts to prevent migrants from crossing into the Lone Star State.
Much less migrants here at the U.S.-Mexico border at Gate 36, probably dozens rather than the hundreds that we saw yesterday.
Here is you had a group of about 600 migrants separated by women and children and single adults.
As a deterrent against illegal immigration, the state has increased its border security by 700 personnel, including state troopers armed with pepper ball weapons. Orlando Marrero Rubio, a spokesman for the Border Patrol, recently told Border Report that unauthorized border crossings near Gate 36, the location of the border rush, could result in deportation and a 5-year entry prohibition for migrants. Greg Abbott defending migrants. Governor Greg Abbott has criticized President Joe Biden's handling of the southern border and recommitted to defending the state from an invasion of migrants. The Texas-Mexico border in Eagle Pass, a town of about 29,000 residents, is under federal jurisdiction, but Abbott claims the Biden administration has failed to enforce immigration law, leaving the state to fend for itself. Texas has continued to erect razor wire as a barrier between the Rio Grande River and Shelby Park, a 47-acre area in Eagle Pass, even after the federal government said the wire impedes federal border agents from apprehending people who cross the river. Abbott said gang members and hundreds of people on the terrorist watch list have been apprehended at the border. He thanked Border Patrol agents at checkpoints who have seized millions of lethal doses of fentanyl and thousands of pounds of methamphetamine. Republican governors have rallied behind Abbott's efforts to deter illegal immigration, with 25 of them arguing that Texas has legal authority to defend itself because the Biden administration has failed to enforce immigration laws.
There's a number one issue in America, and that's securing the border. It's an issue on which he has failed.
Of presumptive asylum seekers and the efforts of federal authorities to prevent the illegal crossing.
And said Texas can enforce its law against illegal immigration.
The standoff between Texas and the federal government began after the Texas National Guard and state troopers took control of Shelby Park in January, blocking Border Patrol agents from entering. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security has demanded that federal officials be allowed into the Eagle Pass National Monument, which Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton has said will not comply with. Last year, Texas signed a bill that allows police to arrest people suspected of illegally crossing the Texas-Mexico border on state charges. This legislation prompted the American Civil Liberties Union and other groups to file lawsuits to overturn the law. U.S. Secretary of Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas called Abbott's actions on the border unconscionable, calling upon him to follow the law as the courts direct and to communicate and coordinate with fellow governors in other states. Abbott's visit to Eagle Pass coincided with the arrival of a convoy of Americans opposed to the Biden administration's handling of border policy. The Take Our Border Back convoy departed from outside Washington last week, passing through Dripping Springs along the way. Organizers called it a peaceful protest, though some critics expressed worry about violent or secessionist undertones. During the Sunday afternoon press conference, some members of the Take Our Border Back convoy faced off against Eagle Pass residents who condemned Abbott for spending billions of dollars on the border. Some residents held a press conference before the governor's press conference, criticizing for hijacking Christianity and taking over a city park. That's all for this video, folks. See you next time.